And good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Gazen.
And I'm Leslie Adamy. Thank you for being with us on this Wednesday. We are continuing our election coverage. This as results across the nation are still coming in. But first, an update tonight in the case of the horrific murders of James and Michelle Butler. October 17th, marking the one-year anniversary of when the bodies of the New Hampshire couple were found in a shallow grave out on Padre Island.
That's right. And new tonight, a grand jury in Clayburgh County has now indicted two people, a man and woman, who are already behind bars on lesser charges. Our Nora Perez has the details on this top story at 10.
Adam Williams and Amanda Noverr are now facing capital murder charges for the murders of James and Michelle Butler. An indictment filed on October 22nd alleges Williams and Noverr shot the couple with a firearm during a criminal transaction. The capital murder charges are not the only charges Williams and Noverr face in this case. It was in October of last year when a search was launched in Texas and Mexico after this surveillance photo was released. Investigators at the time said it showed Williams and Noverr in the Butler's stolen truck crossing the border into Mexico. The suspects were found 10 days later and extradited back to the United States, where they were charged with felony theft and tampering with evidence. At this time, Williams and Noverr are each being held on $1 million bond. Nora Perez, 3 News.